Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. It is Saturday. It is NHRA. They have the New England Nationals in Epping, New Hampshire. Today they run the Mission Food Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. And if you're not familiar with that, it is where the previous race semis run each other during qualifying for extra bonus cash and extra points. And now they accumulate the points as the year goes on until they start the countdown. And when they start the countdown to the championship, they add those points that they won in these Mission Food challenges to their points. So they are already starting off a little bit ahead of the game when the countdown starts, just in case you didn't know how that worked. So the last previous race semis, this is how they're going to line up today. In Pro Stock, it's going to be Dallas Glenn versus Greg Anderson and Aaron Stanfield versus Jerry Don Tucker. So they'll run each other during qualifying, and then the next session they'll run a final in qualifying. Funny car, Matt Hagan versus Blake Alexander, John Force versus Daniel Wilkerson. And then in Top Fuel, Antron Brown versus Steve Torrance, and then Sean Langdon versus Dan Mercier.
Stanfield right, first pair. Both drivers clean off the starting line. 100th on reaction time goes to Stanfield, and at the finish line, he's going to win it 6:57 to a 6:59. With Warren Johnson, a professor of pro stock. Well, if you know anything about work ethic, Warren had that in spades. Interesting. Greg pulled in, was up on the throttle before Dallas was stayed. Dallas got away first. 6:54 beat 6:53 on a little baby hole shot. Dallas Glenn goes 0-13, 6.540, 210 miles an hour. Greg Anderson 0-31, 6.537, 211 miles an hour. Unofficially, I've got Greg low of the round, which is going to be worth 3 points, but he's going to lose the race. Chicago. Blake Alexander, 4:02, 311 miles an hour. Hagan goes 4:10 at 308 miles an hour. You can look at the numbers. Blake moved first, 60 foot. Hagan got a couple of thou back, but after that, Blake Alexander, a little bit here, a little bit there. It's smoke for Wilkin. It is some wild flames down there for John Force. 4:13, 281 miles an hour. I think they may need a new set of heads by the time they get it back there. John is going to get the win. It's going to be 67 at 94 miles an hour. Coming up for Wilk. A couple of cars that are pretty evenly matched right now. Let's find out who did the better job figuring out the 127-degree racetrack. AB and Steve-O. Antron hazes him through the middle. Steve's gave up before the finish line, but he goes 389. Look at his speed. Only 270 miles an hour.
Now, so exciting. They got one car running up to their standard, and now they're trying to clone it. Brian.
.385, Dan Mercier gets the win. Sean goes 389 at 313 miles an hour. Sean moved first. Car was running very well, and about the 8th mile, give or take, saw a cylinder go out. It started losing speed. Watch this again. Dan Mercier kept his lit to the finish line and is able to drive around a couple of hundredths hole shot to win it, 16th thou.
What a drag race. Dan Mercier, Serge Blanchette.
Okay, so that completes the Mission Food Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge for the first round. They said the track was 127 degrees, so it's pretty warm. That's Dallas Glenn takes out Greg Anderson on a little baby hole shot. You saw that. So it's going to be Aaron Stanfield versus Dallas Glenn in the final of that challenge. In Top Fuel, Steve Torrance Antron took himself out, as you saw. And then look at Dan Mercier, 385. That's a strong number for the heat of the day like that. And you saw Langdon went 389, so it'll be Steve Torrance versus Dan Mercier Funny car, Blake Alexander versus John Force. So that ought to be a good one. Let's see who does what in the final.
Exit Pro Stock. This is it, the final round.
That was interesting. Were you watching what's going on down there in the right lane?
Oh, yes.
2 thou is the difference in reaction time. 8 thou is the difference at the finish line, and Dallas Glenn for the win. 6.545, 210 miles an hour. Aaron Stanfield goes 6.551, 210 miles an hour. Dallas got away first by 2 thou, got to the stripe first by 8 thou, and Dallas Glenn, same outcome as Chicago as we go on board. Pretty good drag race between the two of them. Nothing to pick at the starting line. 8 thou to pick at the finish line. .404 beats 399 by 2 ten-thousandths of a second. But let's be fair. John Force had the top light out. He wanted to win that round more than he wanted to worry about qualifying. He deep staged, knocked out the top light, which will show the effect on the elapsed time. Blake Alexander, a good run at 399. Watch again. Watch this race again on the instant replay. Here, they're going to know how to react to that. Mercier looking to take down a 4-time champ. Mercier's got a cylinder out, and Steve Torrance is taking home the chips and the cash and the points. 386, 327 miles an hour. Dan Mercier goes 389 at 298 miles an hour, and Dan's going to have to wait another day for his first NHRA win.
Well, there you go. Dallas Glenn gets his first challenge win. I think they said it was 8,000 at the stripe, so margin of victory was tight. That KBM takes out the Elite. That's a big rivalry going, which is cool to see. Congrats to Dallas and Sadie. Erica Enders keeps the #1 qualifier from yesterday, 651, 211 miles an hour. This is how they're going to line up tomorrow. Funny car. John Force throws it in there, deep stages it, gets that win light against Blake Alexander. That's his first challenge win. Just like Pro Stock, they kept the #1 qualifier from yesterday's run. And if you hadn't seen yesterday's recap, I have a video posted if you want to go check that out just to get caught up. But Austin Prock keeps the #1 with 383. So this is how they will line up tomorrow. Okay, so Top Fuel, Steve Torrance takes out Dan Mercier. They both had pretty decent runs. Torrance went 386, as you saw, so that's pretty good for that heat of the day, as I was saying earlier. That's his first challenge win, so all three new challenge wins today. They also kept the #1 qualifier from yesterday, the champ, Doug Coletta, 375. This is how they go in tomorrow, and I'll have Brother Report right after this. Okay, Brother Report, Clay Millican. That first session today, he had a really good run.
That's a race way back in time. Walked away from the Parts Plus machine. .386, 327 miles an hour. A nice, solid, workmanlike run down there for the Parts Plus team.
He ran, I'm going to say it again, heat of the day. 386, 327 miles an hour. It was actually the third quickest of that session, so extra bonus point. We always count them points. We need them, we'll take them. Second session, it wasn't terrible. Actually, I thought it was a pretty decent run considering he had a cylinder out.
.390, 265 miles an hour. Millican's car shut off early. It still went 390.
And in the morning, he goes in number 7, and he faces Dan Mercier. I appreciate all you guys watching, like, and subscribing. You know I'll be back tomorrow with a recap of race day. And if you are into No Prep Kings, I also do the recaps for them. If you go over to my channel, you will see all the recaps. I'm doing one for their main races today, so go check that out if you want to. If not, leave me a comment because you know I love reading.